Whatever Happened to Janie, Chapter 2. The bedroom in Connecticut was a beautiful sunny room from which Janie Johnson had led a beautiful and sunny life. The leftovers of her childhood enthusiasms filled every shelf. The horseback riding lessons from fourth grade, the silver flute and wooden music stand from sixth, the pom-poms and trophy from the seventh grade cheerleading. Janie's mother stared at the room as if she were touring a castle in Europe, as if impossibly distant people had once lived bizarre and unimaginable lives in this room. But it was their own world that turned out to be bizarre and unimaginable. Janie tried to hug her mother, but Mrs. Johnson, the huggiest of people, stepped back. She actually brushed Janie away. "I can't go through this anymore," whispered her mother. Mrs. Johnson did not look at her daughter, but at the room. The room was all that she would have left. "Don't be mad at me, Mommy," pleaded Janie. How could she go on living if her mother hated her? Janie felt like a very little girl who needed to sit on her mother's lap. "I'm not your mother, Miss Johnson," said Miss Johnson in a suspended voice, as if she were being hanged. Since the truth had come out, Miranda Johnson's elegance had frayed away. She was literally coming apart at the seams. She picked up the pockets and hems of her clothing, unraveling herself. For Miranda Johnson, motherhood was twice destroyed. Hannah, lost in the remote past, had ruined the present as well. "You are so my mother." Janie felt as if her body was going to be turned inside out, the way their lives had been turned inside out. Why on earth had she agreed to live with the Springs? Why had she not fought and screamed and refused? Lawyers had carefully explained that since Janie was not quite 15 years old, the Johnsons had guessed the baby's age wrong. She was a whole year younger than everybody had thought. She was a minor and must obey her parents, and her parents were not Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Her parents were Mr. and Mrs. Spring, who wanted her home, in their house, in their state. How romantic it had seemed the first week. Real family emerges from shadowy past. Girl discovers bizarre kidnapping, unknown even to the kidnappers. But it was not romantic. It was the brutal collapse of a woman and a man she called Mommy and Daddy. Janie's friends had long ago stopped calling their parents by baby names. Mother or Dad or Mom and Pop were what other people said. For Janie, her parents were still Mommy and Daddy. And what had happened to Mommy and Daddy? Her mother stumbled through their lovely home as if the floor, like life, had come out from underneath her. Her handsome silver-haired father, who coached school sports during slow seasons in his accounting practice, had become silent and stunned. It was Janie's fault. She had had choices. She could have said nothing. She could have done nothing. Could have let it go. Let it stay a mystery. She could have chosen to forget the 100 strange things that did not add up. Janie's head rang with if-onlys. If only she had not taken Sarah Charlotte's milk carton at lunch. If she had been given a milk allergy for an important reason, so she could never lay eyes on the photograph of the missing child featured on the milk carton. But one fine autumn day in the school cafeteria, Janie snitched Charlotte's milk. If only she had tossed the milk carton into the garbage. If only she had researched newspaper clippings. If only she had not told Reeve. If only Reeve had not told his lawyer sister, Lizzie. And yet, the Springs were right. Morally, weren't they? Wasn't she their child? Didn't she belong with them? It was too terrifying to think about. Tomorrow she would get in the car and drive across 2 state lines and belong to another family that included 3 brothers and a sister she had never met. In the midst of overwhelming media attention, she would start classes at a new high school. She could not believe she had to handle so much at once. How would Mommy and Daddy manage without her? Downstairs, Janie's friends were gathered. It was supposed to be a party. It was a disaster. Sarah Charlotte had insisted there had to be a goodbye party. "It's a big event," Sarah Charlotte pointed out, which was certainly true, but an event to celebrate? Not at this end, it wasn't. Janie had no idea, absolutely no one at all. absolutely none at all how they felt on the other end, the New Jersey end. She saw New Jersey through a tunnel of fear. She felt as if she were being poured through some evil tube and she could land in almost anything. And there would be no way out because she no longer had parents. Remaining calm was the most important thing. People kept saying to each other, "Now stay calm." For a while, the Johnsons were all so calm that Reeve wanted to know if they were making night trips to a mortuary and getting embalmed. Janie's heart softened thinking of Reeve, who was still funny. But I've lost him, too, she thought. My first boyfriend, my only boyfriend. I can't talk to him either. That's part of the deal. No talking. Sunshine filled Janie's bedroom. It was January and very cold. Ice clung to the streets and the branches of trees, but the room was warm and gold. Janie extended her fingertips fearfully, as if choosing to be burned by a hot iron. She touched her mother's shoulder. She broke, though. For a moment, touch eased truth. Mother and daughter hugged and rocked and felt each other. Love, pain, rage, hope, fear, every emotion lost during these last few weeks were both filled of them. Weeks filled both of them. We weren't calm, Janie thought. We flattened ourselves so we could fit through this. Mommy, she whispered, please don't be mad. Her mother covered Janie's face with kisses, slowly, as her lips were memorizing Janie. I'm not mad at you, honey, said her mother. How could I be mad at you? I love you. You are my life. I'm mad at Hannah. She did this to us. Twice she's ruined us. Hannah. The part of the equation nobody knew, nobody understood, nobody would ever find. And most of all, I'm mad at her mother broke off. I'm mad at the Springs. This was the sentence. Neither of her parents had said it out loud. Neither had broken down and screamed, how dare they want you back? You are ours. You are Janie Johnson, not Jenny Spring. I'm the maddest, Janie realized. I'm so mad at the Springs. They kept looking. They put that photograph of their missing daughter on the milk carton. I saw it, and now they're taking me back. There had not really been any threats. Nobody had said, Jenny comes to live with us or you go to prison. It was simply clear once the facts were known that this girl was not a Johnson. She was a Spring. She belonged to her birth family. If Jenny comes back to us, said the Springs through the lawyer, it will not be necessary for us to find Hannah. We will not prosecute her. For Hannah, it must have been a single silly afternoon, probably long forgotten, in which she stole a car and then a kid. But the after effects of Hannah's deed rippled on through their lives. Frank and Miranda Johnson would not survive the criminal trial of their real daughter. They were barely surviving this. Whoever and whatever Hannah was now, it was imperative that nobody find her. So Janie had to leave when her parents needed her most and go live with strangers. Will they feel like strangers? Thought Janie. Will I walk in the door and know that I am home? Will I remember them once we sit down together? Downstairs, the failed party continued. This was not a going away for college or heading to Europe for the summer. This was not your parents getting terrific promotions or moving to worthy places like California or Texas, so everybody would want to visit you and get letters from you and be envious because you weren't stuck in plain old small town New England anymore. This was a party for the end of a person. The name Janie Johnson would vanish into the history of her life. Janie Johnson would drive away, but when she opened the car door in New Jersey, she'd be a girl named Jenny Spring, a girl who had not existed for 12 years. It was so ironic. In elementary and middle school, Janie had detested her name, Daula's phone book entry. The younger Janie had constantly revised it, changed Johnson to Johnstone, changed Janie to Jane Johnstone, a name with possibilities as opposed to the real name, which was lumpy and forgettable. While she had gotten her wish for a different name, it had more possibilities than any fantasy anyone could have had. For the mother she was embracing, there might as well have been a gravestone with Janie Johnson on it. And that other mother, that biological mother, what was she thinking? That father? Those new brothers and sisters? Who were they? What was going to happen? Janie realized her mother and walked to the window. She did not know why she had done that, ended the most precious hug of her life. There would not be another one. That intensity, that depth of agony and love, they couldn't bear it again. The next hug, the final goodbye, would be the fake calm they were all so good at now. There was a knock at the bedroom door. It was not Sarah Charlotte, because she was downstairs commanding the party. Who else would have had the nerve to come upstairs and interrupt Janie and Miss Johnson? Janie opened the door. Reeve, of course, who had rescued her from so much, but who could not rescue her from this. She gave him a tight smile. He still he'll still have my mother, though, thought Janie. I'll lose Mommy forever. But for Reeve, she'll still be the lady next door. This'll still be the house where he ate half his meals back when his own family was driving him crazy. Janie was actually jealous. Reeve's parents were really his parents. Reeve's town would still be this town. Reeve's name would still be Reeve. People are leaving, Reeve said. He always did that, offering facts, not suggesting action. Even when Janie confessed that she was the missing girl in the milk carton, Reeve had not forced action upon her. He had let her talk and talk and talk, when what he wanted was to kiss and kiss and kiss. Janie, shouted Sarah Charlotte up the stairs. Coming, shouted Janie. She marveled at the cheery light in her voice. She took Reeve's hand. She turned her back at the woman standing in the sunny bedroom and went downstairs to rescue the party. How, thought Janie Johnson, do I go on being happy when it turns out I enjoyed being kidnapped? How do I face my birth family when it turns out that I cooperated with my own kidnapping? How do the parents I love going on loving me when I am the one who turned on them?